Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Incite Your Month. Remember that at Choose to Think, we kick off each month with a short collection of ideas and recommendations from our curiosity diet that we share with all of you. I have Harish with me as usual, so let's start with our pick for the insightful book of this month. What's it?
Yeah, it's actually a classic. This book was originally written in 1994. This is the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, written by Ries and Jack Trout. I'm like sort of ashamed to tell you that this is the first time I actually started reading the book. And this came through a recommendation. I was listening to the Tim Ferriss podcast where he suggested that this is a book that you must read, both Immutable Laws of Marketing as well as branding, because he said this is such a timeless book that you should be reading it. Even now, I went and picked it up. And this is, as expected, this is a fantastic book. It talks about why some of these ideas that seem so perfect fail, right? There were a lot of things to pick up for us personally as well. But you could see so many companies, making these mistakes with their marketing campaigns. And the reason that they talk about is the fact that there are brand managers and marketing managers who have this as part of their job description to go and expand these brands, so which is why they end up doing it. So it's like those incentives being aligned wrong. And that's what the book talks about. It's a short book, but I think power packed, must read according to me.
All right, from that, let's go on to our article of the month. And this is an article which is about a topic that seems to be on the minds of many leaders and in the technology media. And it's about the so called great attrition, also known as the great resignation, or like how I say it, the great musical chairs, because people seem to be going around from place to place shopping for the best possible deal. And there are some occasional losers. So the article is by McKinsey and it talks about wanting the best but keeping the worst. The idea being that if the great attrition is true, and in their opinion it is, people are leaving and the people you are left behind are the ones probably you don't want. So the article is a very short one. It speaks about how companies should relook at their talent strategy. There is a fundamental shift happening in their opinion. And it also suggests a very simple four-pronged approach to address issues like burnout, health, skill building, and also leaves the reader saying it's time to take an imaginative approach to talent management. So that's our article for the month. And for people who are grappling with these issues, this is a good read.
Yeah.
And
What struck
since,
me in that article was also how they talked about the role women have been playing. Right. In fact,
right,
it's like a 3x of what they would have, what they should have been doing, and
correct.
that is why they are the ones who have actually borne the brunt of the last 1.5 2 years. So yeah,
True,
that was
true.
interesting.
Yeah, so for if you read the article, you'll get an interesting stat related to women in the workforce. So check it out for that reason. And since we spoke about building skills being an important part of the talent strategy, our pick for the summary of the month, another book, is in line with that. So what is that, Harish?
Yeah, so the book that we've picked, book summary that we've picked is Long Life Learning. I've not made a mistake. It is not lifelong learning. It is Long Life Learning by Michelle Ries. She talks about, given how the world is changing, we should not just prepare for lifelong learning, but also the fact that we're going to have a very long life. So you need to prepare for that. If you remember, I think we had heard of this concept of tertiary careers some time back, right? Where 20 to 45 is your first career, 45 to 65 is going to be your secondary career, and 65 to 80 is going to be your tertiary career, because things are going to get obsolete. Whatever you learned in college is going to get obsolete by the time you're 45, and so on. That is the premise with which this book is also talking about long life learning, and the changes that are happening at different companies in terms of how they are dealing with learning and even something like hiring. And a very interesting anecdote that she talks about is the Body Shop, which has come up with this idea of open hiring. So at one of their, I think it's a fulfillment center, they practice open hiring, which basically means that any person who meets certain very basic physical criteria, like being able to pick stuff from one place to the other, carry it, and keep it somewhere, they are hired. So they don't really spend a lot of time on the recruitment process, on the hiring, and the time and money that they save is actually spent in other ways of supporting employees. So this is how they have been, looking at this, basically trying to figure out different ways in which they can save time and think of different ways in which they keep looking at reskilling, upskilling, as they call it. So this was my pick for the book summary for this month.
And I think the smartcast that we've chosen for this month is also closely associated with these topics. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so the smartcast that we picked was with Abhijit Bhaduri, who is an author, a consultant, and who is also known as a futurist. So he's come up with this idea of 5 forces that are at play in the hybrid workplace, and how should people navigate, not just people, even employers and companies, how should they navigate this world. It's a very interesting one. We spoke about this whole idea of boundaryless thinking and why empathy is very important, how to work with non-human co-workers as well, and the role of media. We also spoke a lot, spent some time about the role of media, especially in the post-pandemic world, where leaders suddenly now had to use media as a way of influencing their teams and rallying their teams, and how audio video content suddenly became very important. This was a fascinating chat. We also went into areas like Kishore Kumar and Feluda, so it also hit a lot of those chords for me. But yeah, if you're interested in learning about how what he calls as dreamers, which are startups, how they will navigate and move to market shapers and unicorns, and how should they not only build the business but also build the organization, then that's an interesting smartcast that we would recommend. What is your pick for the interesting podcast?
Right. So, because in the Smartcast you spoke so much about so many different topics in just a short while, you ranged from Feluda to the future of work. And so, the podcast episode we've chosen is titled Curation in the Age of Information Abundance, something that we know is happening to a lot of people. We live in a golden age of content. There is just so much interesting material out there that curation becomes extremely powerful and synthesis becomes extremely useful. So the episode is a interview with someone called as Tom Morgan. He's a well-known knowledge curator, and he was interviewed by Jim O'Shaughnessy, who's well known as an investor. And so they talk about things like how to be a curiosity Sherpa, and the idea being that you don't always have to scale the mountain yourself. You can kind of help others as well do it by curating material that will be useful to them. And one interesting takeaway, they talked about the role of paying attention even to small things. It's like saying that things which are at the corner of your eyes, not directly in front of you, small things, but they could have potential opportunities in the future. So if you're curious about curation, just like us, then check out this episode. It again goes in many different directions. And I think with that, we've come to the end of this episode. But before we let everyone go, we have a habit tip for you. Many of you will be going on vacations or taking some time off. Maybe you're like Bill Gates, who's going to read a bunch of books in a week. So the vacation is really a great time to test drive a new habit. The good reason is that you have completely different triggers and environments, and gives you some time to settle in. So put your vacation to good use, build a new habit, and do that trial.
Thank you.